Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We've got a great program in store, and I got my beautiful bride sitting next to me here. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Awesome.
I forgot how I started the show for a second there.
That's all right. It's all good.
I was going to introduce you as a guest. Got a great guest joining me. Her name is Heidi. You may have heard of her from the John and Heidi Show. I do have a great guest coming up later in the program, Alex Perry. Alex is the author of a book called The Good Mothers, and it's a true story about like one of the worst gangs in the world, and these mothers who tried to get their families, their kids, out of the gang, and they stood up to this gang. And if I was this guy, I wouldn't start my own car for a while because he's going to expose some interesting stuff. So we'll be chatting with Alex later in the program. Also, I got a quote here from John Locke. As people are walking all the time in the same spot, a path appears. I like that. It's kind of the way it works. Thanks for listening.
What the heck is that supposed to mean?
As people are walking all the time in the same spot, a path appears. So they're saying, there's a path where everybody goes. Makes sense.
But why is that profound?
It is so profound. If there's no path, there's nobody there. I don't know.
Aren't you supposed to pave your own path?
No, I'm not going to. John Locke, great quote. Heidi, leave me alone. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday.
John and Heidi.
If you're a business owner trying to do your own website, maybe it's time to get help. Or if you don't even have a website, it's definitely time for help. It's 2018. This internet thing is here to stay. At 49bydesign.com, we offer a simple plan to get you online for just $49 a month with no setup fee. This includes a website with the hosting and domain name included in the price. We have larger packages available, but this will get you online so people can find you in 2018. We're affordable by design at 49bydesign.com. That's 49bydesign.com.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It is Friday, the 22nd day of June. It is National HVAC Tech Day. That's Heating, Ventilation, and Air Conditioning.
Yes, I know that.
Technician Day. And if you know an HVAC tech, today's the day to give them a big hug and say, thank you for keeping us cool in this time of year. It's also National Chocolate Eclair Day. It's a good day to give one of those to an HVAC technician. It's National Onion Rings Day. I like the rings, but not the onions. I'm not an onion fan, but I do love the rings
I love
around
onions.
the onions. And National Take Your Dog to Work Day. Is that what's going on around here? All these dogs in here? Just kidding. We don't have dogs all
I
over
love
the place.
to bring our dogs to work.
Yeah, but our dogs are naughty. They bark at everybody and everything. So if we had our dogs in here, I guarantee you we would not get through the show without them making all kinds of noise and ruckus and all that kind of stuff. So today is a special day. Celebrate however you'd like. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. That's 800-818-3967. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
John and Heidi.
All right. Are you ready for Is It a Vineyard?
Yes.
Or is it
I like this
prison?
one.
I was going to say, is it a vineyard or is it a winery? That wouldn't work. All right. You ready for one here?
Yes.
Old Westminster in Westminster, Maryland. Is it a vineyard or is it a prison? Old Westminster.
I'm going to say a prison.
You would be incorrect because it is Old Westminster Winery and Vineyard in Westminster, Maryland.
See, I thought that was I thought it sounded too much like a prestigious vineyard, so I went with prison.
The thing that's interesting, Old Westminster sounds like a prestigious winery, but it also kind of sounds like a big, scary prison, doesn't it? Where he got sent up the river to Old Westminster. Ooh, that's a bad place.
No.
Big
it
heavy
really
doors.
doesn't sound scary.
Old Westminster doesn't sound like a scary prison to you?
It sounds British to me.
Okay, well, there you go. This has been another episode of...
There was only one?
Yeah, I'm only doing one.
Oh.
Hey, I got to be careful. This has got to last me for the rest of our life, so I don't have that many to choose from, so I got to be careful here. Again, this has been another episode of Is It a Prison or Is It a Winery? Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This time of year, there are many parties, weddings, cookouts, and other events that often include alcohol. If you're drinking, be sure to have a designated driver. If you or someone you know has a problem with drugs or alcohol, there is help. The Addiction Hope and Helpline wants to help. If you feel like it's time to finally get the help you need, there's a toll-free number you can call, 1-800-438-0380. That's the Addiction Hope and Helpline, 1-800-438-0380, 1-800-438-0380.
John and Heidi.
And this is your brain on drugs. According to an arrest report, a man concerned that he had been conned by a methamphetamine dealer contacted the police to say, hey, can you test this? I'd like to press charges against my dealer. I've been given the wrong narcotics. Guess where this happened? In Florida. 49-year-old Douglas Peter Kelly called the Putnam County Sheriff's Office and told a deputy there, I had a violent reaction after smoking what I thought was speed, but I'm pretty sure they gave me Flocka. Apparently it's like a synthetic stimulant. Anyway, he talked to the cops for a while. Then they said, hey, just bring it down. We'll test it. He goes, okay. So he wished to have his drugs tested.
Wow.
He went there with a piece of aluminum foil that contained a clear crystal-like substance. They said, yep.
And you're under arrest.
Is methamphetamines. So we got a place for you to stay now. He was arrested on a felony narcotics possession charge. What they should have done is lined up the other guy. Hey, you're going to have to come in. He thinks that this, and if that guy was an idiot too, they could have got two birds with one stone there.
I have a feeling they'll probably get him to turn on the guy he bought it from.
Of course.
Anyway.
He's mad at the guy, so of course he will. As it turns out, though, it was meth. So it was exactly what he was supposedly buying. So, yeah, he can't probably press charges for giving him the wrong stuff. Wonder why he had a violent reaction. I'm, glad that we had the story because it sure makes me smile, but again, just makes me wonder why people do the things that they do. That's what happens when your brain is on drugs.
John and Heidi.
Now, big screen, little screen. A couple of things from the big screen and little screen have made it to Broadway. Two of the hottest selling shows on Broadway are based on Harry Potter. So Harry Potter made it to Broadway. And SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, my gosh.
Made it to Broadway. So there's a SpongeBob on Broadway. And now comes word they're working on a musical about Michael Jackson. I could see that making it to Broadway. But what do you do for SpongeBob SquarePants?
I don't do musical. I won't go to a musical of any kind.
One other quick thing here.
My ears will literally bleed.
She's not a fan. I watched the movie The Greatest Show.
And I had to leave.
The Greatest Showman? What was it called?
Awful.
It was the movie about
The Greatest Show on Earth or something.
There's a movie about there's a Wolverine guy, and it was about that circus guy. I can't really tell you. I don't remember much more. Barnum and Bailey? Is that who it was?
I just
P.T.
can't.
Barnum.
I just cannot do musicals. They're horrendous.
That was kind of scary. I lost my mind for a second there. Thank goodness I caught it. P.T. Barnum. And it was a great movie, but Heidi didn't like all the singing.
No. So. It's horrible to watch. When they're in the middle of a conversation, then all of a sudden break out into song.
That happens here all the time.
It never happens here.
It does all the time. Coming your way, we have a guest. We're going to talk.
Oh, my gosh.
No, you don't want to do that? Okay, before we get to the...
turn in my notice.
Before we get to that guest, we do have your scoop of the day, and that is on the way.
John and Heidi.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-719-5601. 800-719-5601. That's 800-719-5601.
Now your scoop of the day. Japan plans to lower the legal age of adulthood from 20 to 18. So in the United States and a lot of other places, it's already 18. You're an adult. In Japan, it was 20. Now they're saying, we're going to go with 18. And I think there are some parents going, let's drop that down to like 16. Can I put them out a little sooner? A Singapore man was with a love for sniffing women's armpits. What?
Whoa.
Let me get to the beginning. This is broken into 2 pages here. There we go. Now it's all in one. A Singapore man with a love for sniffing women's armpits was sentenced to 14 years in jail. He's a 36-year-old, and he's assaulted 23 women over the course of the last 15 months. smelling their armpits and touching them in elevators and stairwells and
that's disgusting.
and in their homes. That happened in Singapore. So that's kind of weird. For the first time, you can go online and check a database to see if you are a descendant of the people who came to America on the Mayflower. Does not have the website. So wouldn't you put that in the story?
You would think
if
so.
you were going to
If you
talk
want
about
people to go there.
website where you could do something, wouldn't you think that maybe the people who put that story together might tell you where that... I don't know where it is. So sorry for those of you who are wondering if your ancestors came over on the Mayflower. You're going to have to continue to wonder, just like me. Some bank robbers in Ethiopia fled empty-handed and then got caught in a traffic jam. 2 alleged not very good robbers got away, but police managed to apprehend the main suspects. So anyway, they left empty-handed. They got nothing. So they walked in, said, I want the money. They're like, tough. We already been robbed. You got nothing. So go. Leave us alone. Police are looking for a teenager who wrote graffiti as a promposal on the Colorado National Monument.
Oh, my gosh.
Bad idea.
How stupid.
Yeah. This is a bad idea. This falls in the
Oh, my
category of
gosh.
things that you don't do. So if you want to ask somebody to the prom, there's ways to do that. But you don't do it with
That
graffiti
is so stupid.
on a national monument. No, such a bad plan. Don't do things like that. A Tennessee grandmother was arrested after police found her driving with her grandchildren locked in dog cages. What? What's going on there? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Safety car seats, yes. Dog cages, no. And 2 divers, not drivers, but divers, discovered a 334-year-old British shipwreck that is believed to contain $10 million in jewelry.
Whoa.
$10 million. You think they're telling people where they found it? Yeah, it was just right over. Well, it was there.
Whoa.
$10 million. I'd go buy a snorkel myself.
We need to start looking for shipwrecks and treasure and stuff.
I think the show is a shipwreck today, so or is it more of a train wreck?
It's a train wreck.
Is that what it is? I know it's something. I'm going to try to gather my thoughts here. I'm going to get back on track with this story. Thousands of Irish women participated in a world record-setting skinny dip last Saturday. They were trying to raise money for children's cancer. The naked swim raised over $153,000. The Irish women, keep in mind, in Ireland, a lot of very fair-skinned people. I hope it wasn't a real sunny day. Can you imagine the sunburns that they would have? So a naked skinny dip to raise money, and they raised $153,000. That's a lot of money to raise.
How did it raise money? Did they go get donations from people?
Apparently, I don't know if they charged
Or did they
spectators.
charge to come in?
Idea. I don't know or if they charged to people to. I have no idea. I don't know how it works. I wasn't there. And the Royals celebrated the Queen's 92nd birthday last week with a festive parade known as Trooping the Color. That's what they call that. Trooping the Color. Never heard of that.
Me either.
And one last thing. We're not above lies when it comes to extending our weekends. A survey says 1 in 5 adults admits to having planned a sick day to extend their weekend into 3 days. Young adults aged 18 to 34 are more likely than older colleagues to call in sick when they're not. 32% in that group said they've done it. So it's either on a Monday or a Friday. They're like, yeah, I'm not feeling good on Friday. And I might not be feeling good Monday either. So I'll get back to you on that one.
By the way, I might not be feeling good Monday.
Oh, yeah. I got a feeling you're probably not going to be. No, you'll be feeling just
and Saturday.
fine. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Do you have ideas for t-shirt designs, but you don't have a clue how to print them? Or maybe you'd like to have t-shirts and coffee mugs available to buy online with your business logo printed on them. There's a website that makes it easy. We set ours up in about 10 minutes. There's no sign-up fee, no minimum orders, no monthly fees. It's just a really easy way to put some cool items online for sale, and you get paid every time somebody buys them. You don't have to print or ship anything. Just sign up, upload your designs, and then let people know where they can get your cool stuff. More details available at radiosavings.com. That's radiosavings.com.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We've got a special guest joining us today. Alex Perry is an author of a bunch of great books. He's got The Rift, he's got Falling Off the Edge, but he's also got a brand new book out called The Good Mothers, the true story of the women who took on the world's most powerful mafia. Now, I'm going to have to ask you, Alex, I don't even know how to say this name. It looks like they need to buy a vowel or something. How do you say the name of this gang, this mafia group that they took on?
The Ndrangheta.
Ndrangheta.
It's kind of interesting, actually. It sort of says a lot about them. It's not actually an Italian word. It's It's a Greek dialect, Greekanico, and it speaks to how the Calabrian mafia essentially see themselves as a kind of righteous resistance movement against what they see as northern-dominated Italian state. So right from the beginning, they're sort of setting themselves out to be kind of an organization apart from Italy, not of the country, in fact, opposed to it.
Now, the crazy thing, even though I can't say the name very well, they are a very powerful group, and they run about 70% of the cocaine in Europe, and they extort billions of dollars from businesses, billions of euros from businesses. This is a group that a lot of people are very afraid of, but this group of mothers took them on. How crazy is that? It's a true story.
Yeah, I mean, the courage of these women really was my inspiration for writing the book. I mean, it's quite extraordinary. These are three women and one of their daughters who were born in to Calabrian mafia families, which is an incredibly isolated, cult-like atmosphere. You cannot leave. No one has really ever left. The reason why none of us have really ever heard of this organization, despite, as you say, it being so powerful, but, you know, it makes somewhere between $50 to $100 billion a year. That's 3.5% of Italian GDP.
Yeah.
But it is run, its strength has always been this incredibly tight family structure, and from which it's almost impossible to conceive of escaping. And that's the real courage and insight of these women is that they were able to see outside it, and they were able to see that they, the women inside these mafia families, were having a terrible time. You know, they are not really allowed to leave the house unaccompanied. They're married off at 13 as teenagers in kind of clan alliances. Beating is routine. If they're unfaithful, they are killed, and it will be their immediate family, their father, their son, their brother that does it. These women were almost the first, really, to be able to conceive of escaping, and they were pivotal, because before then, really, the authorities only had the vaguest idea of this organization, and it was these women's evidence. They went to the authorities in return for witness protection and a different life that revealed this organization really almost for the first time to the world.
Now, the world cares about this group, and you're saying that this is something that Americans should certainly care about as well. Why is that? What is the connection to America?
So the Ndrangheta's in 120 countries around the world. Its cocaine smuggling business is global, so is its firearms smuggling business. It's money laundering business that really puts it in everybody's lives. As well as laundering its own wealth, it does it on a commercial basis for other organized crime groups around the world. So it's in charge of not just hundreds of billions of dollars, but perhaps trillions. It's enough to move markets, change lives. So we work for their companies. We live in their buildings. We eat in their restaurants. We vote for politicians they fund. They are everywhere. And if you are someone like me that watches this kind of stuff, in the States in particular, you're beginning to see their presence revealed. There's been a number of cases, particularly centered around New York, around sort of bulk-scale cocaine smuggling that have come to light in the last few years. And they always seem to follow a very sort of typical structure. It'll be a family, probably using the cover of a family restaurant. The one I'm thinking of in particular was in Queens, a neighborhood joint kind of place that was essentially the cover for a $10 billion cocaine smuggling network.
Wow. Now, when you look at this story and you see this and say, I need to cover this story, I need to do a book about this, does it kind of make you fear for your safety a little bit when you came up with the idea that, hey, I want to tell this tale?
Well, I mean, I guess I kind of subscribe to that idea that, journalism and news is stuff that people don't want you to know. I felt compelled to write something, as I say, first of all, because of these women's incredible courage, but also that the existence of the Ndrangheta was a revelation to me. I'd never heard of it. This enormous organization with all this power and influence and wealth. It was astounding to me, actually. Almost on a daily basis when I was reporting this, my jaw was just hitting the floor. But in terms of personal safety, I did have a couple of kind of oblique threats. I spoke to a lawyer one time who kind of leant across the table and just sort of looked me in the eye and said, "We always get what we want." You know, it's just I guess he was just making me know who he was.
Okay, order whatever you'd like, I guess.
Yeah. And I went to the village where one of these women was raised. I just wanted to see it, and I was very definitely cornered by her sister, actually, and the local policeman, and was sort of allowed a very sort of perfunctory interview. She was absolutely sort of monosyllabic, and then when I finished my questions, she took my picture, she took my full name, she took a picture of my translator, took her full name, escorted us to the outskirts of the village, and the next week in both local papers there was a 2,000-word article detailing exactly who I was, everything I'd ever done in my career, everybody I'd ever met in Calabria, and what I was up to.
Wow.
Pictures. As in, we know you, we know what you're up to, you've been made.
Well, again, our guest today, Alex Perry, an author who has several other amazing books out, The Rift, Falling Off the Edge, but he's got this new one called The Good Mothers, the true story of the women who took on the world's most powerful mafia, and it is based on a true story. And I'm concerned for you. You should have someone else start your car from now on.
Yeah, I mean, on that sort of safety issue, I did ask, actually, when I was reporting, I did ask the prosecutors and police when I was interviewing. I've got to say that their response as to whether I was in danger was as disturbing as it was reassuring. A lot of them said, "Oh, well, you live near London, you'll be fine. They wouldn't kill anybody there because they run so much money through London. They wouldn't want to draw attention to themselves." Like, oh, right, okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. One guy said to me, "Oh, so you're making them out to be kind of thuggish, misogynist murderers?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, if you're in the business of protection, that's quite good for the brand."
Oh, wow.
That's even... Can't imagine how bad I felt after that.
So now you're kind of like their PR firm almost.
Right.
Well, I can tell you this. Until I spoke with you, I'd never heard of them before. Ndrangheta, is that how you say it again?
Ndrangheta, yes. So the stress is on the second syllable.
Ndrangheta. No, I've never heard of it before, but now we have. So you're doing a good job on the PR front. So, well, thank you again for doing what you're doing. I really do hope that we get a chance to talk to you again in the future. Do you have another book that you're working on right now? Something maybe a little less controversial, like a snapshot at the Hells Angels or something?
Yeah, I'm afraid not. The process of this book got me so interested in organised crime. And actually this idea that the prosecutors kept bringing up that London is really a very hot money city. I'm looking at that now. I'm looking at all the money laundering going on in London.
Well, when you have the next book, please reach out. We want to just make sure that you're safe. So that would be really good to touch base in a year or two.
That's very kind of you, John. Thank you very much for having me.
Alex, thank you again. Alex Perry has been our guest. The book is called The Good Mothers, the true story of the women who took on the world's most powerful mafia. I've got a copy of the book here, and it is fascinating. It's a page-turner. I cannot believe some of the things I'm reading in this. So it's an awesome book. And again, I'll throw a link to this to make it really easy to find in our show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
John and Heidi.
If you're a business owner, you should consider using radio. Radio is a powerful tool. Over 90% of us listen to the radio each week. Imagine if this ad was talking about your business, helping you hit your goals. We can help. We can also create a fun jingle too, to get people singing your song. When you put words to music, they're 9 times more memorable, and that makes radio work even better. Learn more at RadioReallyWorks.com. Radio jingles to help you get better results with the money you're already spending. RadioReallyWorks.com.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Which city in the world has the most Rolls Royces per capita? Do you think you know? Which
London.
city? Wrong. Hong Kong.
Really?
Hong Kong has the most Rolls Royces per capita, and that, I guess that makes sense. There must be a lot of folks here that drive Rolls Royces.
I need to go to Hong Kong.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Of the men who made up the Three Stooges, did you know that 3 of them were actual brothers? Do you know which 3?
No, because I don't watch the Stooges.
I know. Shout it out if you think you know.
Shemp.
Okay, Shemp.
Larry.
No.
Shemp.
No, yeah, Shemp.
And
okay.
Curly.
Curly, yes, Curly.
And Mo.
Mo, there you go. Those were the 3 that are brothers. Larry was a neighbor, and then Curly Joe later on was just a guy that they tried to replace Curly with. But there's no replacement for Curly. A couple of fun facts right there, courtesy of LearnWithoutLoans.com.
John and Heidi.
If you're a business owner trying to do your own website, maybe it's time to get help. Or if you don't even have a website, it's definitely time for help. It's 2018. This internet thing is here to stay. At 49bydesign.com, we offer a simple plan to get you online for just $49 a month with no setup fee. This includes a website with the hosting and domain name included in the price. We have larger packages available, but this will get you online so people can find you in 2018. We're affordable by design at 49bydesign.com. That's 49bydesign.com.
John and Heidi.
Time now for the grandiloquent word of the day. And I just talked to another person who said that this is one of their favorite things. Sadly, because they say, I love listening to you struggle to say these words. Well, I'm glad my misery is making you feel good. All right, here's today's word. I practiced ahead of time. Tell me if you think this sounds correct. Puzzimus. Puzzimus. Puzzomous. Puzzimus. What do you think puzzimus
I think
means?
it's easily confused.
Who, me or the word? Puzzimus is an adjective. It says disgustingly servile or obsequiously in behavior. Obedient or attentive to an excessive or servile degree. Also,
I don't have any idea what you're saying.
Also poisonous. You know that one.
Okay, poisonous.
Puzzimus could be poisonous. Or could be, very obsequious in behavior. Your words to describe your word are more difficult than your words, so that's not going to work. But puzzimus, poisonous, I could see that. So I wonder if you could call the band, instead of poison, you could call them Puzzum. No, probably not. Puzzimus, today's grandiloquent word.
John and Heidi.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-719-5601. 800-719-5601. That's 800-719-5601.
Now some weird news out of Hoboken, New Jersey.
Hoboken, that's a fun place
it
to
is.
say.
Says the New Jersey police there apprehended a man who allegedly tried to rob the tellers at Investors Bank. An attempt ended in failure when the would-be robber discovered that none of the tellers' drawers had any money. He told the police that he went in and gave the tellers a note, contained different denominations of cash, give me the money. He allegedly demanded. That's when the bank tellers gave him a harsh truth. Hey, we already stored the money away. There's no cash in my drawer. He climbed onto the counter to see for himself. Then he fled the scene with no proceeds after confirming that, hey, this bank has no cash. Once he was gone, they called the police, and they arrested 54-year-old Edward Dempsey without incident. So I've got a link to that story. What a bizarre story. So I think the moral of the story is, rob the bank earlier in the day. No, I'm sorry. The moral of the story is don't rob banks. That's what it is.
You don't want to rob banks.
Don't rob banks. So I was being silly when I said do it earlier. So Mr. Dempsey, please don't listen to me and do that. Well, John said to. No.
He knows that now.
I was just teasing. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Now your moment of duh on this Friday. Bizarre story here. A man with a gun tattoo on his forehead was arrested on a gun charge.
You showed me this earlier.
Two versions of the story. The first one says a South Carolina man from Greenville was arrested for unlawful carrying of a firearm, and he's accused of tossing a fully loaded Smith & Wesson .38 caliber revolver into the grass after his recent car wreck. Ironically, he has a gun tattooed on his forehead. So that's story number one. Second one says a South Carolina man has been arrested for illegally possessing a firearm. They say Michael Vines tossed a fully loaded .38 caliber revolver, I think it means revolver, into the grass after a car wreck. He also is charged for driving under a suspended license, among other charges. The Greenville police say he tossed, they put his suspect's mugshot, on their Facebook page showing Mr. Vines with a gun tattoo on his forehead. Now, I'm a fan of some tattoos, but this is not a good tattoo, Mr. Vines. So you should have picked a different place to put that, certainly.
I'm not a fan of face tattoos or
No,
forehead
why?
tattoos.
That's a bad
or
idea.
Neck tattoos
I just don't
of any
understand.
kind.
So anyway, I just think it's very ironic, and it's making national news this week because of this. So there you go. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This time of year, there are many parties, weddings, cookouts, and other events that often include alcohol. If you're drinking, be sure to have a designated driver. If you or someone you know has a problem with drugs or alcohol, there is help. The Addiction Hope and Helpline wants to help. If you feel like it's time to finally get the help you need, there's a toll-free number you can call, 1-800-438-0380. That's the Addiction Hope and Helpline, 1-800-438-0380, 1-800-438-0380.
John and Heidi.
Time now for fake news or Florida, as I get my page in front of the screen so Heidi can't cheat. Although lately you've not been doing very good
It's
anyway.
not like there's anything on the line here.
yeah.
I don't win anything.
Well, with the high stakes that we have on this program, I need to make sure that I, run this efficiently. This is almost as important as the national lottery or there is no national lottery, is there? The Powerball. It's almost as important to that as are the Mega Millions. There are people standing by right now with secured briefcases to make sure Heidi can't see. All right, fake news or Florida. A contractor faked his own death to avoid paying his customers back for renovations that he never performed. Fake news or Florida?
Florida.
Yeah, that is a true story. I think we might actually read that story a while back. Sad true story. How about this one? Fake news or Florida? A man was fired from a daycare and arrested for mixing vodka in with the Kool-Aid. Fake news or Florida?
Florida.
No, that's fake news. Thank goodness. Heidi's like, can I get the address of that daycare? I want to go check that out. I just want to double check their Kool-Aid, make sure it's all good, clean Kool-Aid now. That's what I want to do. This has been another fun-filled, action-packed episode of
Fake news or Florida?
Yeah, what she said.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always like to wrap this program up with some good news. It's always good to end on an up note.
Absolutely.
And our good news comes your way courtesy of Odiva. It's a monthly subscription service that is just for the ladies. All of the details at radiosavings.com. And this is one of the coolest stories, and there's so many good stories, but I picked this one right here because I just think it's such an amazing story. Here's the headline. It says, he rescued a dazed woman from her car minutes before it exploded.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's been a long day for Donald Carson. When he was driving home from work on Sunday, the off-duty corrections officer had just finished a double shift at the Garden State Youth Correctional Facility in New Jersey. He saw a dazed woman who had just gotten into a car collision on the highway. More importantly, she was still sitting in her vehicle, even though a fire had started under the hood. He said, I've seen other cars just driving by, so I thought, well, I'm going to make a decision now. He stopped. He said, so basically, I just made a U-turn, and I approached her, and I said, I see her, in shock. I'm reading off the cuff here. He turned his car around, leapt into action, approached the car, found 59-year-old woman had been rear-ended. She smashed into a tractor-trailer truck. She had broken her wrist badly. 33-year-old Carson soothed the woman, unbuckled her seatbelt, and scooped her into his arms so he could carry her to a safe distance. And roughly 2 minutes later, law enforcement arrived on the scene, and that's when the car exploded. So 2 minutes later, and she would have been toast. So it's such a good thing that he didn't think twice. He just stopped. There's an image of the car, and it is just destroyed. I've got a link to the story if you want to read about this good news. But that is a hero right there. He leapt into action. He didn't have to do that. He could have just kept going. He had a double shift. He would have had no reason to feel bad about just going home. Hey, it's not my problem. But he didn't. He said, hey, I am going to make a U-turn. I'm going to go back and help. And he saved her life.
Totally cool.
Absolutely amazing. So what a great story. And I've got a link to that story and other fun stuff in our show notes for the Friday edition. You just look on there. You'll see it listed as Friday, the 22nd of June. And that's at johnandheidishow.com. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday.
Time now for the bonus break on the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We've got a special guest joining us, Timmy Williams. He is a comedian and a radio personality, and he was in a sketch troupe called The Whitest Kids You Know, and he's going to be in Sioux Falls tonight at Boss's Comedy Club. How long has it been since you've been to Sioux Falls for comedy? Has it been a little while?
It's been a little while. The last time I was in town to do anything was for Sioux Falls Snow Jam in the middle of February. That I more helped run than perform, so I haven't really done this long. Tonight's a whole hour, so I haven't done that long since at least last summer. So
that's awesome. And I know you got a good following here. People absolutely love you. And it's not just here. They love you all over the place. What got you interested in comedy in the first place? How did you get started doing this?
Well, when I was a kid and I did some theater, and here in Watertown, where I am from and where I live now, when I was a kid, I did Odyssey of the Mind, which is like a creative problem-solving after-school program that has a different name now. But anyways, when I did that and when I did theater, I was always interested in being funny. And when I got a little older in high school, I did Interp, which is at the debate tournaments, and I would always do the humorous version of that. So I always liked being funny. But I didn't ever consider doing comedy as an adult until I kind of accidentally met the Whitest Kid. So, and then that's kind of how it fell back into my life.
Let's talk a little bit about that comedy troupe that you worked with. How many people were in that, and how did that all come together?
Well, they started out as a college group in New York City before I even moved there. Since they were a college-funded group, anyone that wanted to could join. So there were like 13 members at one point. And then I met them on September 11th, 2001, because of chaos and smoke in my room from the disaster. I was hanging out in the hallway and met them. And so I ended up joining the group, even though I didn't go to that college. And then once it started getting more serious and we decided to try and do something with it that would make it our job, the people who were kind of leading the group decided, hey, we're going to get it down to people who still want to keep doing this. So then there was just 5 of us, and then that was in 2002 or 3. And then at that point, that's when we started doing live shows as much as possible and trying to get on TV and making our own videos and all that kind of stuff.
No, that's really cool. Now, there's another series that you were part of, Fat Guy Stuck in Internet. Let's talk a little bit about that with Adult Swim.
Well, one cool thing about being part of the New York comedy scene at that time was there was a lot of people around doing a lot of DIY projects, and a lot of those people that were doing stuff are now like major comedy talents. So our friends John Gemberling and Curtis Quinn had this show that they just produced and put online. It was just called Gemberling, and it was about this dude who gets stuck in the internet and goes on crazy adventures. And it was basically a lot of they're really big movie dorks, so it was their chance to parody a lot of like sci-fi and horror films and stuff like that. So eventually, once a lot of that comedy scene that we were in started taking off and getting interest, those guys got their show bought by Adult Swim and changed the name to Fat Guy Stuck in Internet. We'd been friends with them for a while at that point, so they asked me and Sam to come in and do a scene, and it was one of the hardest makeup jobs I've ever had to do, because they made us into like door knockers and then had us wear these giant doors, and so it was like hours of makeup and then walking around in a door costume that I like couldn't move, I couldn't eat, I couldn't go to the bathroom. And what we were doing was a parody of Labyrinth. So we were like the parody of the door scene from Labyrinth.
That's awesome. So for tonight, the stand-up comedy that people are going to see in Sioux Falls, what can they expect? Is there a specific way you would describe your comedy style, Timmy?
Yeah, kind of all over the place, and definitely, I mean, if you know me from the show, it's definitely of a piece with like my loud, ranty characters from the show, which is more close to Howie than real life, I won't be, dancing in my underwear. It's more like me yelling and shouting. But no, not just yelling and shouting, too. But when I first started trying to do stand-up, it was mostly stories, and I don't really do that so much anymore, but I still kind of take everything I do from that element where I kind of try and set the scene in a joke. So I joke a little bit about current event stuff, but mostly it's just about my life kind of and self-deprecating a little bit, and maybe a little of observational humor, because having lived in New York and L.A. and Portland, Oregon, and then moving back to South Dakota, it gives me a bizarre viewpoint, I think. It's kind of I call it an explosion of unprofessionality because that's how my brain works. And I still use a notebook on stage sometimes because since given my location, I don't get to perform super often, so it's hard for me to get everything memorized. My brain operates kind of like a popcorn maker, and I think that's kind of what my stand-up is like. There's your short answer.
Well, we're excited for it. It's tonight. What time does everything get started at Boss's Comedy Club?
Doors at 7, show at 8. And there's a couple openers. I don't have the flyer in front of me, but Andy Swan is one of them, and another local guy is also opening. It's always good. Whenever I perform anywhere, I try and get local dudes or ladies, whatever, local people to open for me.
Well, and I'll tell you, Sioux Falls is very fortunate. We've got some very funny local comedians here.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we're excited for the event coming up tonight. And again, it's this evening at Boss's Comedy Club in Sioux Falls. That's on Minnesota Avenue. It's in the same facility as Boss's Pizza and Chicken. There's just a room off to the side. So you can actually show up hungry at 7 and eat before the show if you'd like.
Yeah, and the pizza is good. It's good food. And, I like to eat, so it's always a good combination.
Absolutely. And they got some of the best Chislik in town. So if you're a Chislik fan.
Oh, do they really?
Oh, my goodness.
Chislik?
Oh, is it? Every time I go there, that's what I end up getting is I'm looking at all the stuff. I'm like, oh, man, this looks good. That looks good. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just go with the Chislik again. I don't know why I even look at the menu because I'm always going to have the Chislik.
Huh. I had no idea. That's really cool.
You have to have some. Again, it's coming up tonight at Boss's Comedy Club, Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Timmy, thank you again, sir.
Hey, no problem. Thank you, John.
Again, Timmy Williams. He'll be performing tonight. Doors open at 7. Show is at 8. Boss's Comedy Club on Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. All the details at facebook.com/sunnyradio.